Now we're on the next part, and look what I saw down below. House of the Dragon Season 3. If you don't know what House of the Dragon is, it's a Game of Thrones prequel. So it takes place years and years and years before Game of Thrones. That's pretty cool. I got my older sister into it and my mother. And since my mother doesn't really like Game of Thrones, I was like, how is it that you don't like Game of Thrones? Like the main show? She said, because there's killings, and then I was like, you do realize, Ma, that there's like deaths in House of the Dragon too. She was like, yeah, I know, but it's not too graphic. And then I was like telling my older sister, how the hell was she not used to Game of Thrones when there's so much deaths and it's a bit more graphic than the prequel? And she's used to the prequel. She was like, I don't know, but she has her picks. The House of the Dragon is really cool. I also watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms. If anyone hasn't watched it, I recommend it. Pretty good show. Like, damn, I cried. One of these days, I want Henry Cavill, yes, that played as Superman. I almost said to play as Batman, not Batman, to play as a character in Game of Thrones, like either in another show or a movie. I don't know, but it'd be cool to see him in Game of Thrones. Although the thing is, I forgot if they put swearing in Game of Thrones. Like I don't remember them saying like fuck or shit. I think there is, but they don't say it much. I got one of my best friends to watch it with his family, and he said, dude, we got through 4 episodes. And I said, what is that? And he said, oh, just because, dude, my family told me to turn it off because it got too graphic. And I was like, what episode were you on? And he said, season 1. I was like, yeah, but you got through 4 episodes. And he said, yeah, we were watching about episode 5 till, this is one of my best friends talking. He said, yeah, we're halfway through episode 5. And then he said that his mother said, no, turn it off. It's too graphic. Too graphic for me. And I said, aren't you gonna watch it by yourself? And he said, yeah, but I'm a bit too scared to watch it, to be honest. And I said, you're scared to watch a show that's rated R. Dude, you're like a teenager, like you're almost an adult. And he said, well, no offense, it is a bit creepy. And I was like, is it because of the dragons? And he said, yeah. And I said, are you scared of dragons? And he said, well, no, just more like, it's a bit like, the design of them is creepy. And I was like, dude, last time I watched The Hobbit with you, since I showed it to you for the first time, Lord of the Rings, you thought the orcs were creepy. And he said, they look like they came out of The Walking Dead. I was like, Walking Dead are zombies. Orcs are like very different. They're like trolls on the bridges. To be honest, our conversations always go to like from banter to funny shit. And last but not least, he said to me, do you think we should get another Lord of the Rings movie? And I said, well, Green Hunt for Gollum, so yes, but not another for The Hobbit. And I also heard that Stephen Colbert, yes, that former talk show host, is planning to do a Lord of the Rings movie. And apparently, I think it's like a comedy or something. And I thought to myself, dude, if you make this a comedy, I swear to God. Like, I mean, like, not that I would hate the franchise, but it's just, don't turn into a comedy. It's action. Well, fantasy, actually, but still. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.